Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna discuss you about this topic. I'm going to build my first demo on Spring Framework and how to develop a demo web application, a starter project using Spring Boot, and we'll be using STS IDE that's provided by the Spring tool itself, Spring tool shoot, and we'll be discussing upon some basic terminologies with Maven tools, Postman, and DNS, and those things and all. Okay, so the topics to be covered here, or which I'm going to cover here, are introduction to Spring Framework, introduction to Spring Boot application, and develop demo web application using Spring Boot. So we're gonna follow all the steps provided by the Spring team itself. We're gonna download the Spring STS, and we will create a new project, web application project. So we use some browser to test it, and we'll get the output and running process of the developed demo web application. So how that project internally runs and how Spring internally handles those things and all. Okay, those things will have a check on it, and finally we have a few terminologies like, what can I say, Maven, Postman, and DNS. A small introduction to it. So by the way, we'll go into the session. The first thing is introduction to Spring Framework. That's what we're gonna discuss here. So we'll leave framework first. We'll leave Spring. Okay, first we'll learn about what is a framework. So framework is a pre-written set of code that provides a structure to build applications. Okay, so whatever the framework here just refers to it's a set of codes that has been already built by and developed by many developers. It's been it's been written and it's been developed safely by in a pre-defined container or jars. Okay, so framework is nothing but a pre-written set of code. Okay, pre-written set of code. Set of code means collection of Java files and any kind of programming languages that provides a structure to build applications. So it provides a basic idea about what applications and how to build it. So that's a framework. So here Spring is another kind of framework. So what is the definition of a framework? A framework is a pre-written set of code that provides a structure to build applications. So it helps developers by providing reusable components, okay, tools, and best practices, so they don't have to write everything from scratch. Right? You understand? So developers don't have to write everything from scratch. That's the thing. Then frameworks simplify development by handling common functionalities like securities, database interactions, and request handling. So it's like a generic one. So these things, security, database interactions, and request handling, are common for all the applications, right? We're gonna use all these classes. So framework is nothing but it will just give us all the pre-written code, so we can just focus on our functional logics like that. Okay, this is what a framework. So what is a Spring framework? So how Spring framework is unique here? So the Spring framework is a powerful open source Java framework used to develop enterprise applications. So the Spring is completely full for Java programming developers. So Spring is a powerful open source Java framework used to develop enterprise applications. Enterprise application means, in the sense, we have some, it's a wide range of applications. It's a long and huge working process applications. So those applications are called as enterprise applications. So Spring framework is a powerful open source Java framework used to develop enterprise applications, and also it provides tools to simplify Java application development by managing dependency injections. So these are all the features of it. So what are all the features it provides us or offers us? Dependency injection, Spring core. That's nothing but the core feature of the Spring. Okay, dependency injection, Spring MVC, model view controller. Okay. Model view controller or the origin based Spring this thing where we use to develop web applications. Okay, Spring security, it's another kind of feature or application that we can build using Spring. That's for authentication and authorization purposes. Then for Spring Data JPA, it's another feature of the Spring where we can access database access. Then Spring AOP, aspect oriented programming, it's like another separate concept. We won't touch it. Just we have marked it here because it has a feature of the Spring. That's it. So these are all the features. So we'll go one by one. So dependency injection is nothing but see, for example, we dependencies are nothing but the jar files. Okay, so we have a first jar file, web jar files. Okay, this is the name of the first dependency. So we need to use some pre-written code here, but these pre-written codes are dependent by this another jar. So one jar is dependent on another, then this their jar is dependent on this jar, then again this jar is dependent on this jar. So manage all this jar this thing, right? This is called dependency management, and the infusion takes place in between intermediately between them, right? That is called as dependency injection. So that is another feature of the Spring. Spring MVC, we use this to create web applications. So in our demo we gonna build demo web application using Spring Boot. So this is the key feature of Spring Boot. Okay, then Spring provides flexibility by allowing developers to configure applications. That's it. Okay, so what is a Spring Boot? We spoke about Spring. Now what is a Spring Boot? Spring Boot. Okay, Spring Boot is a special version of the Spring framework. It's not, see, Spring is different, Spring Boot is different. Many people are confusing with this. Spring or Spring Boot, same here, like that they will speak. It's not like that. Spring is a total framework. It's a team, and Spring Boot is a application or a version developed by the Spring team. It's not another framework. Okay, Spring Boot is a special version of the Spring framework designed to make development work easier. It was developed due to make development work easier. It for full and full it was to make a full easy access to developers to reuse the code, and they can be only focused on the functional logic of the codes. Functional logic they need to write. That's it. Okay, so it removes the need for complex configurations. It removes the need for complex configurations by providing auto configuration. Auto configuration is nothing but automatically sets up the beans and dependencies. We no need to import manually. We just need to, for example, if you want to import web services, web applications, right? We in the dependency injection manner import section, we just need to give web applications. That's it. And if we give import button, it will automatically import what are all the necessary web dependencies required to develop a web application. So it will import all those things. That's it. Then it provides us embedded servers built-inly. So any web application, for any project, for any web application is nothing but interaction between a web page and the application, right? Whatever, if we want to see some website or any UI or anything, cricket match or anything, we need a web browser or web anything. So that web browser is nothing but it will pass some request parameters to a backend system. So ours is a backend system. So that backend system should have a capability to get those requests, to process it and give a proper response. This is how the proper functioning or working of a web application happens, right? There is a web browser sends us a request, and the backend system will process the request and it will give a proper response back to it. Okay, this is what a proper functioning of a web application. So to perform this thing, we need a server. For example, if we don't use Spring, right, we need to externally, we need to, or explicitly we need to use a server called Tomcat or any kind of server. We need to configure it, we need to configure that server to our application, and we need to configure that application and server to our web browser. This thing process, many problems are there, but Spring gave us a very easy thing. No need of creating any external web server. I will itself give you a embedded server. It's a built-in one. You no need to configure anything. You just need to run the application and you can just post that request in the browser. You will get the response what you want, what you configured. Super bright. It just gives us a direct response and direct this thing itself. Embedded server, built-in server. So comes with Tomcat or Jetty. So no need for external setup. That's it. It's one of kind of advantage of Spring Boot. Okay, then standalone applications, it's also called as standalone applications. So it runs as simple Java application with main method. So previously, right, when we before this arrival of Spring Boot, developers used to write many class files. Okay, many methods, they will have many methods. So if they have many methods, they need to use many objects. So in one class file they create an object of another, because to use or to inherit or to reuse the codes, right? they used object of it. So if you create an object of it, they can directly import all the methods and all the member functions and data members from the one class to another class. So they used to have like that. So we get confused if we have face any issue in the production later, right? But here, it since Spring allows us to create a standalone applications, it makes easy for us to debug where the issue is, and it makes easy for us to develop the code, the set of piece of code. So it's one of the advantage of the Spring Boot. Okay, so the overall Spring Boot simplifies the setup and reduces boilerplate code. Boilerplate code means no need to write freshly from scratch. Okay, making it deal for microservices and fast development. That's it. Okay, so the difference between Spring and Spring Boot is Spring is a full-fledged framework for enterprise Java applications, whereas Spring Boot is a simplified version of Spring that reduces configuration effort, and it's great for faster and rapid application development. Okay, so we need to know this point. It's used for faster and rapid application development. Okay, I think I have covered the top two topics. Now we'll go to develop a demo web application using Spring Boot. Okay, you just for this we need to download the Spring STS IDE that we can get from this Spring IO thing, right? The main website. If you go here and if you go for a quick start, it will ask for any integrated development engineer. Here you need to choose the Spring tools, and you just download based upon your operating system. Okay, Mac OS or anything. And if you once you download, right, it will be in the form of this enter zip file. You need to unzip it and you need to run the xe IDE. For example, I'll show you. It will be like this. If you run this Spring tool shoot, this all the plugins and it will be handed out, and our IDE will be in finally looking like this. Since I'm using dark mode, right, dark theme, it shows in black color. For you, for the one who are using light themes for the Windows, it will be in the white color. Okay, so now for this, Java needs to be installed before we are installing the Spring toolshoot, because Spring needs Java. Spring works on Java. So either JDK or JVM we need to have, JRE we need to have. So I am using JDK 21. You see Java version, open JDK 21. This is the version I am using. So okay, now we'll first develop our new application. So since we are creating a new Spring Boot application, go to new, go to Spring Starter project. Okay, so here it will communicate with the same URL which we map here, and it will ask for the name that we need to keep for our application. So I am going to give first web app. This is our application name. So you need to give example group name, let it be com.example, and here package name first web app, and the type build tool, which build tool it asks. So I'm going with Maven. So Maven, I'm going selecting this as Maven. I'll explain what is Maven and the packaging, how I want this project to be packaged. I want to be it in a jar. Then with Java version, it's 21, because my system what I imported is a JDK 21. So Java version 21, and the language is Java. That's it. Now see, this is the dependency part. So whatever dependency, since I'm going to develop web applications, so I'm just a Spring Web. If you see here, to build a web including RESTful applications using Spring MVC model view controller, uses Apache Tomcat as the default embedded container. Container means it's a default server, so we can run with this. So you need to click here and you need to click next and finish. So our new application will be imported now. See, first web app boot. So default it will give us one class file called the main application. You see, right? This annotation. Annotations are nothing but are special markers, okay, used to provide metadata, data about data, okay, about the code to Spring framework. So annotations are nothing but it's like a tagging list. It will have a certain list of classes in between within itself, so it's like auto configuring it. So if you use the Spring Boot application, it tells Spring that this is a starting point of the project. So whatever class files you you write after this should be the starting point of it. So it will come here. From this only the control will go to next part of the project. It will come, it will execute this method. From this it will go to the next parts. Okay, now we will build a simple hello world application. Okay, so for that we need to create controller class. So for that I am going to create another package called com.example dot first web. Wait, I just click the enter instead of this thing. So if you want to rename a package, right, you can go here, refactor, name first web app dot container. That's it. So it's a create a new package for us, and inside it I'm going to create a new class, that is demo container. That's it. So it will create a new class. Okay, wait, I'll also let you know what we gonna call. So here nothing but we gonna call a separate URL like this. Okay, we'll gonna call this separate URL like this, and here this URL in any of the web browser or any of the web UI that we gonna execute our application, we call the call, and we need to print a basic hello world. That's what our aim and our task today is. Okay, so I'm created this. So for this, since I need to mention it as a to handle the REST services, this HTTPS services, get or post or put, we need to have a annotation called REST controller. So this thing imports jar file or dependency. You can see the org.springframework.web.bind. So it's under web dependency annotation REST controller. So it REST controller, you can see a convenience annotation itself annotated with controller and response body. So it's a combination of controller and response body. Okay, so why it's been used here? It is the spring that okay, this is a controller class. So whenever a method or endpoint is nothing but, see, if this is this thing, you can see is hello. This alone, it's a endpoint. I just bold it. This is a endpoint, and all other is this thing, right? It's a normal URL for of our system to execute any web based request or get any response, right? It's a normal URL based thing. So it's a endpoint. So whenever I'm trying to call this hello, I need to get output as hello world, or parameterized also we can able to do. So instead of this, if I'm giving this hello, and I'm passing a parameter here, name equal to Chandru, right? I need to give hello Chandru. That's it. So this is our requirement. How we gonna build this? That's it. We have give this REST controller. As soon as I provide this as a REST controller, whatever endpoint I give here, right, it will directly come there and it will take it. Okay, for that is the main purpose it's been used. Okay, for example, if you see here, right, hello, it will just directly come here and it will directly take. That's the main purpose. So REST controller I give. Now I need to again I need to what I need to provide. I need to create a method for handling this hello request. That method will directly point to this endpoint and it will process the request and it will give a response back to the browser. So for that also again we need to create another means we need to call this annotation get mapping. This get mapping, what we gonna put here, we need to pass this endpoint here. Whatever method we are calling the right, that endpoint we need to pass hello. That's it. So now we can create any method name, public string display content. This is the method I'm using. I'm not passing anything. Okay, since what we need to print, we need to print just hello world. For this hello, this thing I'm passing return hello world. That's it. See, I didn't do anything. I just created a new class container and I controller. Sorry, I just forgot container. Sorry guys, just change this to controller. It's a controller class. So controller, this controller is annotated with rest controller. Why we are giving as a rest controller? Because rest controller tells the spring that okay, see, now your application has been started, but it will search for the endpoint where if we hit this URL in the browser, right, it will search for this endpoint in our controller class. This is the default rule of spring. So, and it will search for this endpoint. Yeah, it's found this endpoint, then it will do this thing. Since we are using get services here, so we are mapping to get, so it will display this hello world. Okay, now I'll tell you run a, how to compile, how to clean, how to package, and how to run this. Okay, whenever you created this, first save it, then after that go here, right click your project, go to run as, and give for Maven build, do clean. If you do clean, I'll cover this point also here itself. Running process of the developer demo web application. As soon as you give clean, right, you can able to see this content in the console. It's nothing but scanning for projects. So this line refers that the requested profile pom.xml could not be activated. It's nothing but it finds the project details, and the ones about pom.xml is not a profile. It's not a profile, right? Pom.xml is not a profile. It gives a warning. Profile means it can be anything, dev or test or prod. It can be anything. So it ignores it. Now you can see it identifies the project. How it identifies the project? See, this name and this our application name both are same. So it identifies our project from the pom.xml, and this is the version of our project. Okay, version of the project. If you open this pom.xml, you can able to see this is the name of our project, name, version. Okay, after that it's download some plugins. If it is the first time, it will download the clean plugin, but since I am already using this spring for past few months, so it will not display the clean this thing. Then if you see clean's target detecting this entire project, and it build has been success, so the entire project has been cleaned successfully. Okay, just the process of clean command. Now we need to package the project. I'm going here, package. See, as soon as I do the package command, again it finds for the project, and it says pom.xml could not be activated because of it does not exist. It's nothing but a warning message that it's not a, how can I say, it's not a this thing, it's not a form, it's not a profile, dev or test or prod, it's not a profile, it's a definite form.xml. And here the main thing we need to notice, it copies the resources. See, resources, copying one resource from source main resource to target classes, it copies the resources because it packages everything. Okay, then it compiles the code. You can see compile. So whenever we write any Java application, it will, the .java class, .java file will always be compiled and store it as .class files for the next execution. So it compiles the code, then it runs some test. Since it's a test application, right? So it runs some test runs it will do. Then it packages such as jar. If you see here, building jar, in this folder the jar file has been built and it has been stored. It's like an export format. Okay, the build success, we can able to see the build success. So this is the complete process of package command. Now we come to the main command, is run command. How we need to run our application, which command? So it's nothing but spring boot spring hyphen boot colon run. So it will run. So run is nothing but resource processing will take place, compilation will take place, and it start the spring boot startup. Okay, it starts the spring boot. If you see this ASCII values, right, it's nothing but spring boot has been started. Application initialization, if you see here this content starting with first web application, so it is the initialization, the starting point of the application. So once we run this, right, control will directly come here. It will go here, spring boot application, it will search something, and the application is ready now. So whenever we try to hit some HTTP request in the browser, it will come here, it will fetch wherever this thing, the business logic has been written, and it will return the response back to us. This is the first thing, application initialization. Then embedded Tomcat initialization. You can see here embedded server has been initialized. Tomcat initialized with port 8080. So in 8080 we can able to access the server. Then Spring Web context setup. If you see web context, it's nothing but the dependency induced, we infused, right? We imported web dependencies because we are developing web applications. That's it. Our application has been loaded successfully and it's running in 8080. Now we'll try to call it. Okay. So what command I gave you? What request? This is the HTTP request in the browser. So in the browser, we'll go and call it. So we are passing this as a request to our backend Spring application. Our backend Spring application will receive this request and it will give a response back to our web application, means to this web browser. So what it is saying, application has no explicit mapping. Okay, it's saying that, oh sorry, we need to remove this hello. After this hello, there is no this thing, right? If we remove this, let's see, it prints hello world. Good, right? This is our first requirement. So this is a request from web browser. This request goes to our Spring backend system. Means it will come here. It will search for the main method. Yeah, it's run. It's run. Then it will go here. Since this is the endpoint we are passed, it will, since it's an HTTPS request, it will come. It will search for the controller class. It will come to this annotation. Okay, it will identify this as a controller class. Controller class, then it will come here, then again it will search for the endpoint, which endpoint it has been matched. Hello, it will search for the hello. Yes, hello is here. It's a get request. So get means it directly gets a request, so it will fetch this hello world content from here and it's displaying here. That's it. Very simple. Okay. Now what is the second requirement? Based upon the parameters I pass, my that hello, my name should be printing. How we need to do this? Simple. For that, first we need to change our code based on it. Okay, so I'm just having this hello. I'll just do this as in the same method itself. So nothing, we need to pass one request parameter annotation. Request param annotation. Need that request param. I need to specify the value equal to name, comma, and the default value I need to specify. If none, anyway, if none value is being provided, right, defaultly it should provide some hello world. That's it. And we need to pass one name variable. That's it. String name I have passed. So if I give any name here, for example, this name variable, right, this question mark name equal to Chandru, means this is the separate, for this addition only we are doing this. If I give that, what I need to have, I need to have a return dot to string, right? I think I need to use return dot to string. Yeah, return dot string dot format. Return dot string dot format. I need to print hello, and for this come. That's it. So I'm going to, so whenever you are trying to, whenever your Tomcat server is running, you need to terminate it, and again you need to run, because you made some change in the backend code, right? It will not reflect directly, so you need to stop it and again you need to run. So this time I'm going to click all the three comments in a single go. Clean package spring boot. So all the three steps will be done in a single step itself. That's it. We received this thing. We'll go into the browser now. We'll first type hello. See, no parameters I have passed, so it prints hello world alone. Because I'm going here, I'm specifying it. If name is there, print that name. If no name is passed, then print the default value. So this world will go and sit in this name variable, and this name variable will be tagged here, and this name variable tagged here will go and sit in this percentages. So it will print here. Now, if I give a name, how to pass the parameters here, means you need to give a question mark. I'm giving name equal to Chandru. Now see, hello Chandru. Okay, get it? It's very easy, guys. This is how you will do those things. Okay, now coming to the last part, it's Maven Postman. Maven is nothing but a build tool. So Maven is nothing but a build tool. Build tool means, see, now we imported web application, right? We imported web. We are, since we are doing web applications, we imported that web dependency from the Maven itself, from the, as soon as we start the create the project itself. So build tools are nothing but, why build tools are there? Because Spring and Spring Boot team wrote the code to make an web application. Okay, so there were multiple jar files. So in order to make an application, we are dependent on one or many kind of jar files. So but that jar files is dependent on some other jar files. As soon as I show here, web is dependent on rest is dependent on soap is dependent on JSON. So it's very hard for us to import these kind of jar files, because one jar file is dependent on another. Means if we miss any one of the jar file, our application crashes there itself. So we need to import properly. So Spring tells that you no need to worry, I'll do those things for you. Okay, to handle those things, right? Because Spring needs to handle this, right? So managing all the multiple jar files dependence was difficult for Spring team. So Spring team created build tool to solve the dependency management problem. So the build tool is of two types. We can two different things, Maven and Gradle. If there is no build tools, then developers has to manually search all the dependent child jar files to make an application. So Spring Framework came with an idea of grouping all the related jar files to solve the dependency management. So they came with the build tool managing. So that's what Maven is. Okay. Then Postman. Postman is nothing but a, see, in how we check, how we tested this URL request, whether this request is we pass to a Spring backend application, and whether we getting the response, like same like that we can do test in Postman also. We need to specify the URL proper request here, and specify it is a get or post or put or delete or anything. Get, if I run this, hello world is came. Now, if I want to pass a parameter name equal to Chandru, if I run this, hello Chandru. That's it. So this is Postman. And what is a DNS? DNS is nothing but a domain name system. Okay, just a minute. So domain name system. Domain name system. For example, this thing you can, if you see, this is a URL. This we call it as a URL. Means it refers to our existing local system, and this hello is a addition mapping for of our endpoint. So we are specifying that in our local system, come here and use this hello method. So here, like this, we can use many methods. Like one hello method, we can use many hello methods for our based upon our convenient. Okay, so display content 1, display content 2, we can display any other things. Hello world, like that we can display any other names or calculator or any calculations we can do. So this is what the difference is. Okay, so in real world, any project is created. Okay, any project is created. The project has two open ports for the rest of the world. One is 80 for HTTP and 443 for HTTPS. So if the above ports are not in function, then our project can be able to solve the cannot be able to solve the traffic. So traffic means if we are deployed this project in our real world, right? Many users from many this thing they will try to access it. So if that happens, our project may crash. So for this we need to have some DNS system. We need to have knowledge in it. So that's the thing. Okay. So in this video, we created a simple web application. We created a sample application. We created a demo controller class. In this controller, we mapped a endpoint. That endpoint is nothing but it received the request from any web browser from where it called, and it processes it, and it gave a response back. Hello Chandra. Okay. Thank you. see in upcoming demos.